Hello, hello. I'm Karen Yankovich. Welcome to another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. And oftentimes when I speak to women, I they're just not sure what to do, right? Do they pivot completely, or is it time to just dive deeper and power up to what they're already doing, right? So, do you need to change course, or are you going to build on what you already have? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I think we're living in a moment where the world feels chaotic, right? But so I believe that means our inner compass is more important than ever, right? So this episode is about choosing your next chapter from power, not from panic. So we're going to start with our 3 tips in 3 minutes. Tip number 1, listen to the energy, not the drama. Is your work draining you because it's wrong for you, or because you've outgrown what you're doing, right? Like, does it feel heavy every single day, or does it feel meaningful but misaligned with how you want to deliver it? It's important for you to discern that as you move forward. Tip number 2, audit your legacy skills. Listen, if you're listening to this podcast, you've been around a while, right? We have decades of wisdom. The question is, how do we want to evolve with those skills that we have been accruing for many, many, many years, right? So think about this. If you repackage what you already know into a higher level offer, which is my favorite conversation to have with people, would that excite you? Right? How would that feel? Or does it, even thinking about it, make you want to run for the hills, right? So think about what skills you have and what you want to bring with you into the next chapter, what you can lean into in the next chapter, and what you're totally done with. Okay. And then tip number 3, look 5 years ahead, right? Like, think about, like, if you change nothing about your work for 5 years, what would you regret? Would you regret not being seen, not being able to make an impact, not being able to have the money to do the kinds of things that maybe you want to do for your family or for the world, right? Not scaling or not simplifying, right? This is what I mean about, like, that power up. If the regret is about doing work you no longer believe in, then it's time to pivot, right? Then it's time to pivot. So hopefully 3 and 3 gives you some fast clarity on moving forward. If you want more, stay tuned, because we're going to dive deeper into each one of these tips. All right, back to tip number 1. Listen to the energy, not the drama. I work so hard in my life to live a drama-free life. It's not easy in my world. I got to tell you, it's not easy with my family. It's not easy with some of my friends. I recently reconnected with an old friend, and I said to somebody that was with me, I was like, I just worry a little bit because there was so much drama when she was in my life directly. And she was like, oh, well, maybe things have changed. Not even 24 hours later. Not even 24 hours later, she brought the drama. I was like, oh, okay, no. I'm just in a place right now where I can't deal with that. I choose not to deal with that. Right. So understand that if there's discomfort in moving into your next chapter, right? It isn't drama. It might just be misalignment. Okay. Especially if you have big dreams, and if you're, like, high achieving. Most of the women that listen to this show are high achieving women, and they mislabel the discomfort of expansion as misalignment or drama. And it's not. It is normal to be to experience discomfort when you are expanding. It's so normal. So I just want you to kind of recognize some of these feelings and be okay with some of this stuff. There's also a difference between being tired and being done. Can you relate to that? Sometimes we're tired, but we're tired because we've been sticking the same round peg in the wrong square hole for way too many years, right? And that's exhausting. But if you have the most amazing, square peg, then you don't have to be done just because you're tired. If you're done with it, okay, be done. It's okay to be done. But sometimes you're not done, you're just tired. And we want to recognize that. We want to be able to recognize that distinction as well. The research that I did when I wanted to record the show found that women over 40 report that there's higher clarity and better business outcomes when they follow their internal alignment instead of external expectations. And that's not easy to do, you guys. You know that, right? Like sometimes there's people, a lot of people around us telling us what we should be doing. And sometimes it's the people that love us the most and that are the closest to us the most, right? Maybe even our partners or spouses, right? They're like, wait, what? Are you doing this next chapter? Right? So be careful who you're listening to, right? Learn the external expectations. Some of them are still going to be there, and some of them you're going to be able to walk away from, right? But this internal alignment, this is where you need to really, really, really pay attention. So think about this. Like, where does your body feel tight when you think about your current work? Where does it feel spacious? Like, do some journaling around all of this. Listen to this segment again and do some journaling around all of this, because really understanding if this next chapter is meant to be a deep dive into what you are so good at right now, or if it's time to walk away from it and pivot, this is the very first thing you need to do. This is the very first work that needs to happen before you can take the next steps successfully, right? What I don't want you to be doing is spinning your wheels and wasting your time, right? We're never going to get it perfect. There's always going to be reasons that we need to shift or pivot, right? But understanding fundamentally what we're doing in our next step is really the first thing that you need to do. Let's talk a little bit next about, I called them your legacy skills, right? I remember years ago, like a lot of years ago, because my kids have kids now, but sitting at like a PTO meeting. And there was a woman in that meeting who was the treasurer or something. And she was so good. And I was always entrepreneurial. I was always working, right? And this was a woman that was working from home, or I'm sorry, she wasn't working from home. She wasn't working at all. She was a stay-at-home mom, and that wasn't working at all. You guys know I didn't mean it like that, right? She didn't have a paycheck job, right? But she was the treasurer of the PTO, and she was so good. And I remember thinking at the time that the skill level of some of the women in this group was astonishing to me, right? So many women have these amazing skills and these amazing brains, and they think they have to go do new things or other things, or I mean, you may have heard me tell a story once before of another friend of mine who happens to be a really good cook. I happen to be a really good cook, but I'm also busy. And as I get older, like I just, I don't know, I don't feel like cooking as much as I used to. So I remember my kids were still home, and I said to her, honestly, I would pay you to cook for me. And she's like, that's ridiculous. You're such a good cook. I'm like, I know, but I don't have the time. And she just couldn't process that there was a possibility that she could get paid for these legacy skills that she had, right? I was willing, I had my money in my hand, and she just couldn't go there. She couldn't get there, right? She couldn't get there. So what I want you to do is to lean into your wheelhouse, right? Lean into your wheelhouse. For me, LinkedIn is my wheelhouse because my sales experience back in the day, back before LinkedIn and social media, was relationship marketing. That's what I did my entire career in all different flavors. But at the end of the day, it was sales, but from a relationship base. And my network was a huge part of my success, right? So for me, when I started learning social media, I learned social media all over the place. I really loved Twitter for a while. And, I don't know, I just knew that LinkedIn was what I knew, right? It's what I did. It's the same skill that I had before. I just brought it to this new medium that was able to deliver it. So I leaned into my wheelhouse to be able to bring those skills to you, right? So many women already have $1 million skills hiding in plain sight, right? Like you can be like my friend who just didn't want to take any money to cook for me because she felt like I could do it myself. Or you could be like, I don't know, you guys know like Baked by Melissa? Do you guys follow her? She's awesome. Maybe I should try to interview her for this show. Anybody know her? And I'd love an intro. But I know that she's in the New York area. I probably can find her. But I love she has monetized that. She has monetized that. By the way, her business is cupcakes, right? But her TikToks and reels and stuff like that are all about other recipes, right? It's not just about that. So she just leaned into her wheelhouse and is now running this what seems to me, crazy successful business. By the way, her cupcakes are awesome. And I've made many, many, many of her recipes, right? So look a little bit for things that people are saying to you or people are paying you for, like over and over. That's not random. That's your power, right? That's what we want to dive deeper into and create these big, fat, juicy offers around so that you're staying in the place. That's the premise for the show, right? Good girls get rich. If you do what you're good at and you lean into that and you let everything else go away, that's where the riches come into your life, right? But we have to recognize what these skills are and build from there. All right. So, we're going to kind of like change the packaging around it a little bit, right? We're going to talk, I refer to it like power up packaging, right? Turning your existing genius into a higher value, simpler, more aligned offer. I mean, doesn't that sound amazing? I don't want you spinning wheels and creating 75,000 sales pages because you have offer bumps and all this crazy stuff. If that's not what you like to do or even know how to do, let's just simply find an amazing skill that you already have and that you love to do, create a high ticket offer from it, and I'll find out who it's aligned with and find those people. Like that is at the heart. That is simply what we do around here, right? We don't teach all the other stuff. Do I do some of that other stuff? Yes. We promote our podcast, for example, on lots of other platforms, right? So, but my 10, 15 years of online marketing experience this is the fallback every single time when things shift. And you guys might have noticed things have shifted in the online marketing world. When things shift, I fall back to this. Where are my big fat juicy clients? Let me get a couple of them and while I figure out what the next marketing plan is, right? What's happening in the market right now. And you saw that we've revised our She's Linked Up program and we created the Visibility Salon with it. Hopefully you're in that already because it's a ridiculously low price. You can go to visibilitysalon.com to check that out. But we did that while I was doing all the things that have to happen to revamp a high ticket pack program into a $47 a month program. That took a long time and we weren't making any money during this period, right? I was leaning into my skills and bringing on high ticket clients and consulting clients, right? So that's what I want you to be able to do. So think about, what do people always thank you for, right? What takes you 10 minutes, but takes other people 3 days, right? And what would you keep doing for free just because you're that good, right? Because you're that good. This is what we're looking for. And honestly, in our Visibility Salon, this is what we help you with. I want you to see the gold that's already there, right? We're not mining for new gold. You already got gold. We're just uncovering it. We're uncovering it and leaning into it, right? If that's what you're choosing to do, let's do it together. All right. The third tip, diving deep, your 5-year forward scan. It's so easy to just keep doing what you've always done, right? It's the easy thing. It's the easiest way to be. It sucks because you don't tend to move. It's kind of like staying in the same place, right? So one of the things that we do in our Visibility Salon is one of the very first things we do is take you through a visualization of what does your life look like a year from now when you've shifted into this new identity, and what does it look like 5 years from now, right? And think about this for a second. If you're driving, don't do this now, but if you're not driving and you're in a place you can do this, close your eyes for a minute and imagine waking up 5 years from now and you are still doing the same thing. Like, what does that feel? To me, it feels like panic. It feels like, resentment. I don't know. But that's me, right? I always have big goals, right? So think about, how do you want to feel versus, you've got for my goal for everybody that I work with at the $47 a month level or the $47,000 level, right, is I want you to have a minimum of a $250K a year top line business. That's what's going to put $100K in your wallet. I'm not a business coach. I'm not the person that's going to figure out all the things in between. But I do know that if you're shooting for $100,000, that's not enough money to put in your pocket, right? So if we're shooting for $250,000, if your top goal in 5 years, top line is $250,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, like you tell me what that number is. In our business planning sessions, we do the business plan that you create. Right. But then then I push you and say, all right, what's the $1 million version of this look like? What would it take? How many of these would you have to sell if you wanted to have $1 million come in the next year? Right. So So think about what that looks like for you in 5 years. So kind of close your eyes again and think about like, all right, I'm there. I've got this, I've got 100K a month coming into my business and we're doing 7-figure years. Like it's so amazing. And, I'm able to do this and I'm able to do that. And I'm, taking my kids and grandkids on vacations or supporting my family or just, watching your bank account grow. Like that's fun right there, right? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be materialistic about it, right? You can just be like, gosh, I can leave each one of my kids $1 million. Like, God, doesn't that feel amazing? Right. So, so think about what that looks like for you and then go back to that. Is it pivot time or is it dive deeper time? Right. Because when you look at 5 years and everything seems the same, if that makes you feel trapped or small or invisible, or maybe you need to shift to the people that to the option of powering, diving deeper in what you want to do. If you feel frustrated, then maybe it means you're meant for more, right? And it's not something different necessarily. It's just doing a better job at what you're already doing, right? And this is the time. I don't know if you guys are seeing all these articles that are out there about how women over 50 are the fastest growing entrepreneurial demographic in the world. It's because we're done. It's because we're done listening to our bosses. We're done listening to our spouses. We're done. And we know we can do it better, right? We know we can do it better, but we don't know how to get from A to B. So that is why I'm here, right? That is why I'm here. Whether you decide you want to pivot or whether you decide you want to power up, either one of those choices is a brave choice but the important part is that you're making a choice, right? It's empowering just to make the choice, right? They're both brave. They're both brave. I just know that. And I am here, not here to tell you which one of these to do. I am here to tell you that if you're feeling frustrated, it's time to decide, pivot or dive in, right? Either way, claiming your direction expands your income, your impact, your earnings, your influence on the world. Either one of those things. What doesn't change is staying the same, right? So whether you're pivoting or whether you're diving deeper into what you do, know that once you claim this and you kind of step over that line and say, I'm in, I'm done, I'm doing this, everything starts to change. You're claiming it to the universe, everything starts to change. And this choice, this moment is how we create more wealthy women in this world, right? Women who rewrite what real power looks like. And guess what, ladies? Real big dreams require big money. It is okay to say, this is going to be a 7-figure. The next 12 months are going to be 7 figures. I'm going to bring 7 figures into my business. It's okay to say that. Okay. I want you to say those kinds of things. I want you to believe those kinds of things. Other people are doing it, right? Why not you? Right. So listen, if you're listening to this and I kind of want to know, message me on like LinkedIn, DM me on LinkedIn, and let me know if you're pivoting or you're powering up, what's your choice is, right? And know that if you're looking to get some help with this, we are here with you. We just completely revamped our She's Linked Up program. I talk the talk that I want there to be more wealthy women in the world, and I want to help more women. I want to help 100,000 women this year. It was time. I was being limited by the investment in my program. Now, listen, I loved it. I loved that I was able to dive deep with women, and I had enough investment in the program that I could really dive deep. That $47 a month, you guys are going to have to do a lot yourself, but you still have me supporting you. And obviously, we have some opportunities for you to get some one-on-one help as well. So check it out, visibilitysalon.com. I'm so excited about this new direction for my business. This was a pivot for me. It was actually a little of both, right? It was a little of both. We pivoted the program, but we dove deeper into what I was already doing, if that makes sense. All right. So I'm excited for your next chapter, and send me a DM on LinkedIn and let me know if you're pivoting or if you're powering down, and if I can help you with that. All right. Have a good week, everyone. And I will see you back here.